Hey there, it's Crystal, founder of HeartStories, and I am here with Sisters on Your Sofa with Sarah Beth Yeli Marshall, who is the owner and the chief chocolate officer at Yelibelly Chocolates in Addison, Texas. And we are so excited to have you with us, Yeli. So let's start off. I want you to tell us about your name, because I get all awkward, like making sure I'm calling you the right name. So let's start with Sarah Beth Yeli Marshall. Tell us how you, and Yelibelly Chocolates, how you got your name.
So Sarah Beth is my first name. Yeli is my middle name. And I would say when I was younger, I went mostly by my first name. And just having a different middle name, it was not cool as a kid to have a different name. Even Sarah Beth. I actually grew up in Chicago, where having two first names is weird. When I moved to Texas, I actually know 4 Sarah Beths in Texas.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, everything's bigger in Texas, even the name.
Yes. But up north, even Sarah Beth was a weird first name to have. But I usually went by that when I was younger. I started going by my middle name, Yeli, when I was in my 20s. And it actually came up because of a hobby I picked up. In my mid-20s, I picked up doing Middle Eastern belly dance.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes. So I was taking classes, and I started performing in Chicago, and a lot of Middle Eastern crowds. I was dancing in restaurants and stuff like that, and announcing the belly dancer Sarah Beth is not that interesting. It's like shouldn't Sarah Beth be milking a cow in a field somewhere, not belly dancing? But my middle name Yeli is actually Turkish. So I started going by my middle name, and it helped me blend more into the Middle Eastern crowd that I was actually performing for. And so it kind of blended well with being a belly dancer at the time. And that kind of lends to where our company name comes from.
Yes.
So the first place that sold my chocolate years ago, like 2009, the first place that sold my chocolate was the dance studio that I taught Egyptian belly dance at.
Oh my gosh.
They had come to me and said, you bring us chocolate all the time. We know it's just a hobby, but we've got all these dance moms here with, disposable income. Let's put your chocolate in our dance boutique. And I thought, okay, we can do that. But we need a name for the company, because I didn't want to just call it Yeli's Chocolate or something like that. So they actually helped me come up with the name Yelibelly.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I love it.
That's where Yelibelly actually comes from. The first people that ever bought my chocolate were friends in the belly dance community. And I sold at belly dance shows and belly dance workshops. That's really where my chocolate started from. But it's interesting that a lot of people now that buy my chocolate have no idea about my belly dance background. And so it's grown into such a different company now that it's not really focused on the belly part anymore. But yeah, that's where we started from. Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love that. I had no idea. It was like right before we started, I'm like, hey, I want to talk about where your name comes from. Is that a good story? And like, yes, it's the best story.
It's a pretty good story.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing. All this time I just had, thought that it was because it fills your belly. It's like, yummy. So that's amazing. So tell me about, chocolate, you were making chocolates as a hobby. You were belly dancing. Tell us about how your chocolate business evolved, or even where did you learn to make chocolate? Let's start.
So I have a background in food science. I actually worked as a dietitian for about 14 years out of graduate school. And food science in general was just very interesting to me. And chocolate has a lot of science in it, in the base of making it. So I kind of picked it up as a hobby. But how I first got introduced to what I wanted to do with chocolate, I mean, I've eaten chocolate all of my life, but never Hershey bars and C's chocolate and Godiva, all of those things that you think are good chocolate. Then when you become a chocolatier, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been eating crappy chocolate my entire life.
Yes. But, what did I not know?
I was on my honeymoon the first time around. We're on number 2 now. But the first time around, I was on my honeymoon, and we had gone to Italy on a cruise, and we happened upon this little chocolate shop in a coastal town called Genova. And we walked in this chocolate shop, and they just had all of these chocolates out. Unfortunately, the guy there didn't speak English. And
Oh gosh.
my Italian is like gelato and pizza and spaghetti. And so we were not communicating at all, but he could tell that my husband at the time and I were into food. And so he started giving us chocolates to try. And we had, like an orange infused chocolate and a mint. But then we were starting to look at some stuff that looked a little bit more interesting. So we picked up like a lavender infused chocolate. And it was really like, I just loved the feeling that it gave me. But then he gave us a chocolate that he couldn't describe. And it just had like a picture of a tree on it. And I'm like, you're giving us tree bark? Like, this is
Oh my
weird.
God.
But he gave us this chocolate and he couldn't describe what it was. And we put it on our tongue and it melted. I tasted really like I was standing in a cedar closet. And what we were eating was a cedar infused chocolate.
Oh
And it didn't
goodness.
taste like a tree. But the
Yeah.
aroma around me like made me feel like I was in this, like in grandma's cedar closet. And I was
Oh
like, what an
my
interesting
gosh.
feeling. So I was just blown
Eating
away and I
chocolate.
thought, I want to do
Yes.
this. Like, yeah, like I want to eat chocolate, but I want it to be interesting. I don't want to play with just the stuff that everybody else does. I want to do amazing infusions with flavor. I want people to have the same wow factor that I had when I tried that cedar
Yes.
infused chocolate. So after that honeymoon, I came back home and bought textbooks. I bought equipment and I just started making it at home for fun. And then
Oh
it
my
just kind of like, it kind of grew.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
That they grew through the belly dancing community and then on to, so how did you get from Chicago, you told me? No.
Chicago, yes.
Yes, Chicago to Dallas area with your chocolate
So
company.
my first husband is a chef in research and development, and he
Okay.
had a job opportunity down here. And so we came down here for that job opportunity in about 2006. And when we separated, I thought, I have an opportunity to go back to Chicago if I want. And I realized how much I loved the Dallas area. And I
Oh,
just realized that I was so comfortable. And I thought as a Midwesterner that there's no way I'm going to want to stay here, but I love it so much. So I've been here since 2006 now and have no intention of leaving. I absolutely love Texas. I'm not born and bred, but I got here as fast as I could and I
yes.
absolutely love it. So
Oh, that's so
yes,
good.
yeah, definitely.
I love having you Midwesterners here in
Yes.
Texas. It really is like so nice to have different cultures intermixing. I have known of you and followed you around, not followed you around. That sounds a little stalkerish.
That's
Followed
okay.
you around on social media. And then when quarantine happened in April, you were offering, or maybe it was, I'm sure it was April, May, you were offering your online classes. And I was like, oh, I've never done a class with her and I've always wanted to. So I signed up for boxes for me and my kids. My husband was out of town the night that it was happening. And so the boys and I sat at the kitchen bar and did your class together. And it was so much fun. And I was just thinking in relation to just you're so professional and so well spoken. And
Thank
obviously,
you.
I didn't know much about your history with chocolate, but you know your stuff. And it was evident during that class, like there was nothing anyone could ask you that would throw you off. And you just made it, your passion for chocolate exudes from your teaching.
Thank you.
And
I
yes, and the
appreciate
chocolates,
that.
oh, it's so true. And the chocolates were so good. And it was just neat for me to share that moment with my kids. It's not like they're tasting wine or anything these days. So to be able to taste, like to smell and taste and really pay attention to what's happening in the chocolate was just such a, for lack of a better word, no cliche, is so rich. It was such a rich experience to have and fun. We had so much fun. So I was like, we've got to get this girl to girls' night. So I'm just so grateful you said yes and so glad to have you as part of what we're doing. So tell us briefly what we're going to be doing at Girls' Night on October the 1st.
I am really excited. So
Yay!
I'm super excited for this because I love sharing, obviously, my passion of chocolate, but I love teaching people about fine chocolate because, like I said, most of us have eaten chocolate all of our lives, but a lot of us have never really learned how to taste chocolate.
Yeah.
And there is so much more to chocolate than a Hershey bar and the chocolate that we're normally surrounded with. There is just fantastic flavor out there. And much like a wine tasting, or, if you're into cigars or bourbon or scotch, there's so much flavor in a product once you learn how to taste it and
Yes.
to taste the good stuff, not the stuff that you can find on the shelves that you spend $1 on.
Yeah.
So for Girls Night Out, we're going to be doing a really in-depth chocolate tasting, and we'll be teaching everybody how to taste fine craft chocolate, but also trying chocolate from places all around the world. So countries of single origin chocolate like Madagascar and Peru, from some of the islands of Africa. And what's going to be interesting for people to see is just like wine, it tastes different based on where it's grown. Same thing happens with chocolate. Chocolate has a different flavor based on where those cacao beans are coming from what country of origin. And I love the reaction when people realize that, they've been eating chocolate but never tasting the true flavor of good chocolate. So
and I was thinking, like, one of the things that was eye-opening, and even just listening to you talk about it again, that it's not necessarily different ingredients. It's really just a lot about where that being was grown. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of people don't know where chocolate comes from. I mean, it comes in a bar, but where? So we go through all of that in Girls Night Out. So I'm going to keep that a secret until the ladies join us for a Girls Night Out and learn where chocolate comes from, how it's made, and then get to taste, chocolate from so many different countries of origin. We will leave them chocolate wasted for sure.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of, if they sign up to host a group, HeartStories is buying them a box of the chocolate wasted chocolate. So tell us about your chocolate wasted box that you do, because I think that's awesome.
So our tagline for our company is "Let's get chocolate wasted." And it originated from the movie Grown Ups years ago. A little funny scene where a girl says, "I want to get chocolate wasted," and that's kind of where it started for us. We really want people to just fall in love with the chocolate and just feel that overwhelmingly wasted feel. But we like to put alcohol and lots of alcohol in our chocolate.
In your chocolate.
So our chocolate wasted box is all alcohol infused chocolates, and we mix the spirit right into the chocolate. So it's not one of those that you might have had before where you take a bite and it kind of like drools on you, like it kind of spills out. Not that kind of alcohol infused. We put it into the actual ganache in the chocolate, so you get the full flavor of it with none of the but we love playing with different infusions like Chambord, which is a black raspberry liqueur, bourbon and scotch. I mean, all of these spirits that you may not want to drink a whole, drink of, but you want the flavor. I mean, you might not be a bourbon drinker, but bourbon and chocolate is so good. And just so you get that flavor without maybe the whole sting of the whiskey itself.
That's so cool.
That's what we like to play a lot with. So we're excited to be able to show that to folks too, and to play with our chocolate wasted collection.
Yay. Okay. So everybody who signs up for Girls Night is going to get a box, a tasting box, an individual box, or if they buy a hostess kit, they'll get boxes for 6 people.
Yes.
And so that'll have, and it has the little book in it, the 33, what is it called? 33 bars of chocolate, where they can write down what you walk us through.
It's called 33 bars.
Yes. So that was when we were doing our tasting with you, we loved writing all that down. I'm like, okay, wait, she said that was this note of butter or whatever it was that we would write down. And it was just neat. It solidified like what you're tasting and thinking, and then you're writing it down. It's really neat.
Exactly. And it really helps you understand what flavors you're tasting and what flavors you like, because there are going to be bars of chocolate that you try, or maybe countries of origin that you're not a fan of, and you might want to remember that next time. So if you write this down in your little journal of your chocolate tasting, you remember what flavors you like. And so next time you go to a place where you can buy fine bean to bar chocolate, then oh, I really love Madagascar as a country of origin. And so you can know to look for those types of bars then too. And it really, for foodies, this is definitely a bonus, because there's so much that you can get into when you're trying new flavors, and the 33 bars book is very helpful for that.
It was. I remember there was now. I remember now there was a place to rate what you thought about it. That's
Hmm.
amazing. And it's not just like just for that night. It's a little journal, like you said, that you can use if you ever taste. You go get chocolate or order chocolate and taste others. You can put all that same stuff in there. It's amazing.
Exactly.
You're teaching us how to journal our chocolate experience.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I love it. I mean, it's really, really neat. It's something brand new for me. So, okay. So tell us two final questions. One is, we were talking just a second before we got on about being in the middle of still quarantine and schooling at home and how difficult that is. And so it's just, and obviously social uprising, election, there's so much going on right now in the world, but particularly here for us. What's bringing you joy and hope amid all of this just challenging stuff?
It's not a challenge, you're right. I would say there are a couple of things that are working in my family's favor. One, we have a great kid, and he is
Mm,
handling homeschooling very well. We have our bumps every now and then, but he is a rock star, and his teacher is fantastic. And I
well,
think
that's
that helps
awesome.
our home life be a little bit easier. On the
Yes.
work side of things, I have a fabulous staff, and my
Mm,
staff are in the kitchen working right now and able to keep our business going while I work from home and kind of check in with them. But I know that they care as much about my business as I do. And
oh, it's
so
so good.
it's, it's upon them to keep things daily working in the kitchen where I'm not babysitting. But a
Yes.
lot of our transition that we had to make during our quarantine with our company has come from my team. And I
Mm,
cannot take full credit for it, because it really
mm,
was an opportunity for me to sit down when things went on lockdown. We lost probably about $75,000 in business overnight, because
oh
we
my
were
God.
doing a lot of events,
Yes.
weddings, corporate
Yes.
events. And when all of that shut down, that was our main source of income. So I sat down with our team and said, I want us to be a solutions oriented business. I
Yes.
don't want to think about the problems. We have lots of problems, but
Yes.
if we think about being solutions oriented, what can we do? And we just went around the table, and every team member had a say and what they thought we
Oh,
could do to continue the company. And that's where, like the class that you did, that's where the virtual classes came from. It was from the team saying, we do classes in person, we can do them online, let's get these ingredient kits together and let's get them out to people. And that's been a saving grace for us. It really has kept us
oh.
going. But it's having that balance of greatness at home and
Yes.
at work that has really benefited us. And I think a lot of us put too much on our own personal shoulder as a business
Mhm.
owner, and we
Mhm.
don't always think that the people that work for us or the people that work around us are there to support us too. And we need to
Yes.
listen to them, because just because they
Yeah.
don't have owner on their name tag doesn't mean they don't have fantastic ideas that can do great things to save us. And my staff have really done that for us, for
So I
sure.
can 1000%
Yeah.
same. Yes. And I think same for motherhood too. I think oftentimes we put like the weight of every single thing on our own shoulders. And if we would allow our children to think for themselves sometimes, or do for themselves, or make their own way, or sit with their own problems and not try to fix it for them all the time, it oftentimes they can surprise us with what they bring to the table if given the
Oh,
opportunity.
exactly. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't always give even the littlest ones enough credit that they see the world for what it is too, and we have to listen to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is, that's just like, for me, even just hearing you share those stories, there's so much hope and joy there. Like that's the hope of the future, is that we rely on each other and that we live in
Yes.
community and not in silo, and let other people carry the load when we can't carry it. So that's what Heart Stories is all about: connection and community. So I love that
Yes.
that was your answer. Okay, so finally, before we go, what is your best advice? I know you have a son, if you had a daughter, or to your younger self, like what's the one thing that you would go back and tell your 20-year-old self, or tell a 20-year-old now, a 20-year-old girl who is trying to make her way in the world?
Um, don't be afraid to change,
Mm,
and don't be afraid to get out of the lane that you are currently cruising in. You know, I loved my job as a dietitian. I mean, I went to college and graduate school, and I loved that job.
yeah,
But in the end of that part of my career, I was terrified to change, because I thought, that's what I went to school for. And that's what I've
yes,
done for 14 years, that I can't change.
yes.
And it wasn't good for me anymore. I cried all the time. I was
Mm,
miserable in my job. And I found that if I wish that I had someone around me to say, it's okay to
mm,
go do something different. It's okay to leave a relationship. It's okay
mm.
to leave a job. It's okay to change if you feel that you're stuck. You have to find a way to get out, because you're not always going to have someone around you to tell you that. But I wish that I had thought about that sooner. I wish that I had had someone tell me, or say, years before, that it's okay to go and try something different,
Oh my God.
that it might not be what you originally thought.
So good, girl. I'm like goosebump. Like my hair is standing up on my arms. I got tears in my eyes. I have to tell you, like last night, one of my friends, and I guess she's going to remain nameless, sent me this text, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to pull this up while she's talking. It's just a quote. It's by someone I don't even know. But it says, don't forget about the grief in transitions, even when those transitions are objectively good, which of course, you know, relating to coronavirus, we're always leaving something behind. So be careful that you don't confuse your grief as an indicator that the transition is wrong. And so that's a quote from Vienna Farron maybe. But just the idea that like the transitions are good and it still may feel uncomfortable and strange. And there may be grief, like you said, leaving a relationship, you're leaving something else behind to do the new thing. And that's not just because the new thing is good, doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Um,
Yes.
that's just
Yeah.
crazy that that was your answer. And I like literally got this quote last night from my friends. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for
My
being with us
pleasure.
for girls' night. It's going to be amazing. And just, oh, so much wishing you well that all the
Thank
things
you.
continue. I know they will because of your
Thank
outlook
you.
in life. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm looking forward to October 1st. We are going to have a great girls' night out, and I hope so many of your watchers and listeners join us, because it really is a way that we are going to find something brand new that you have never seen before. I mean, like I said, you've eaten chocolate, but you've never had it like this before.
Right. And getting to do it with friends. So we are doing it with, you can do it in solo by yourself with the virtual class, or you can gather your group of 6 and do it, you know, in a small safe
Yes.
group. So I think that's exciting too, that we get to have those experiences as community. Even if you do it virtually, it's still with the larger community.
Yes.
So, all
We are
right.
looking forward to being a part of it.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.